Hello and good evening to one and all. We are live from National Institute of Technology, Patna. On behalf of Hack/Developers Club, I welcome you all to our fourth session of this workshop series at HackNITP, which is centered on Flutter 101. So today, to train you all on Flutter development, we have with us Mr. Mrinal Jain, who is professionally a front-end web developer. Mr. Jain is passionate about open source and web technology, and he loves to volunteer and share his knowledge by speaking at different events and mentoring the students regarding various technologies. So it's an absolute honor for me to present you Mr. Mrinal Jain, sir.
Hello everyone. A very good evening to you all from NIT. I hope you guys are having a great time during this COVID period, as well as the hackathon which the volunteers have organized. So today's session is about Flutter. Most of you might have heard about it. Most of you might have just sort of tried your hands on it. It's basically a hybrid cross-platform mobile application framework, if you say it in that particular language. So today's agenda would be to just quickly go through what all possibilities are there with Flutter, who can actually start working with Flutter, because since it's a new technology, relatively new technology, so being a web developer, being a backend developer, or in any different other domain, if you are working, is there a possibility that you can switch to Flutter and start working in Flutter? And why I am saying that you can switch to Flutter is because like in today's time, Flutter is not just uh, used for creating mobile applications. Flutter is also being used to create websites. Flutter is also being used to create desktop applications. So basically, what a iOS developer, Android developer, web developer, and a software developer individually performs action, what all actions all these developers perform individually, a Flutter developer can just do it on his own. So that's the most important thing which we'll be discussing. What I'll do is, as of now, is I'll quickly try to share my screen uh, so that we can get started with the presentation. Few heads ups from my side that it would be a very interactive session. So just don't keep on listening to what I'm saying. Whenever you feel like that, okay, you want to ask any question, you have any doubt, just make sure that you write it in the comments section. Or even if you feel like that, okay, this is something which Mrinal should have spoken, so you can quickly let me know in the comment sections. We'll like dive deep into that particular topic as well. Great. So just give me a second. I'll quickly go to sharing my screen, and it is done. Sharing screen. Okay, so yep, I have shared my screen. Just give me one more second. Okay, so yep, I am present. Let's just wait for the screen share to start, and then we'll go about it. Just let me know in the comment section if the screen is visible. If the PPT is visible, yeah, I guess I hope now it's visible. Okay, great. Yep. So let's start with the session. Great. So a quick introduction to myself first, and then we'll get ahead with the session. So I'm Mrinal Jain. I'm a community lead for Facebook Developer Circles. It's an initiative by Facebook's developer team, which is sort of just to create a good learning environment in between the developers who are like starting to work on the latest technologies, be it artificial intelligence, be it AR, VR, and the technologies which are there from Facebook with .ai, React, and React 360, and all those stuff. So we promote all those technologies and help out students with those kind of technologies. So I'm leading the FDC chapter in Central India, Facebook Developer Circles in Central India. I'm also a Mozilla representative. So basically, I'm a tech speaker for Mozilla and speak about all the web technologies and the services which Mozilla as a company provides, other than the browser as well. So that is one thing. Mm. Uh, I was also a Microsoft student partner during my college time. It was back in 2017. I was also a Microsoft student partner. I'm a community manager for Free Code Camp as well, the organization which yearly organizes Hour of Code in month of December, and the other uh, website is also there where you can learn a lot of programming concepts for free. So you can just directly visit freecodecamp.org for learning it for free, most of the tech programming languages. And as a full time, I'm working for Witifeed as a front end engineer. So I'm working on their mobile and mobile applications and websites as well. A lot of things. So that is there. Cool. So today's agenda, as we have already discussed, that we'll go through all the what's and how's and who can use the Flutter, and basically we'll answer all the questions. We'll try to answer all these questions. So great. So first of all, what is Flutter basically? So all those who are listening it for the first time, who are just getting to know what exactly Flutter is. So basically, Flutter is a mobile SDK which is designed by Google, you might be knowing, and it is meant for high performance applications. So it is a mobile SDK which is used to create high performing applications. Now, when I'm saying this term applications, it necessarily doesn't mean that it would create mobile applications only. The primary goal is to create mobile applications, but Flutter SDK can also create a website, a desktop application. And when I'm saying a desktop application, it can be a Windows desktop application, it can be a Mac OS application, and it can be a Linux OS application as well. So the best part about Flutter is that you just need to write one single code base, one single file, and you can get output as a 6 to 7 different platforms. So you're writing a code base for just one platform, which is in a language which is known as Dart, and as output you will get a website, a mobile application, a iOS application, Android application, a desktop application, and everything. So that is the best part of the Flutter. So that's the reason it's really getting the boom and really getting the attention which from all the developers. So that is about Flutter, and that's what the definition says. It creates basically a high performing mobile applications, works with all the leading platforms, and it's open source. So again, since it's open source, it's continuously getting improved. Continuously it's getting lots and lots of improvements, because Android is like very old as of now, so there is lots of support for Android. But Flutter being relatively new, but it supports multiple platforms, so it's getting a lot of supports from the community as well, and all the maximum contributions are coming from the community itself. I would like to listen from you guys as well who are attending the session, that do you guys also sort of do any open source community or open source contributions in form of code or in form of documentation or anything, just let me know in the comment section. And just a reminder, if there are any questions, just feel free to ask in the comment sections itself. So this is basically a small overview that okay, what Flutter is and who can basically use it. So now second part, who can use Flutter, because all of you might be here already learning something or already working on something. Someone might be working on machine learning, someone might be working on if it's a front end technology, someone might be working on React, someone might be working on Angular, and so on so forth. So who exactly is Flutter for? So basically Flutter is very easy to work on, so that it can be used by designers as well as it can be used by developers as well, because Flutter being just one programming language oriented, which is Dart, everything is written in Dart itself, be it design, be it integration, be it any structuring part. All these things are written in just one programming language, which is Dart. Let's take an example of a HTML website so that you guys can understand this clearly and more easily. So when you create a website with the help of HTML, uh, for creating structure, you need to learn HTML, and so that you can create all those divs and paragraphs and heading tags and everything. Now, to beautify that particular website, you need to learn CSS, so that you can provide CSS, and it might like add CSS to that all those HTML tags so that it might look beautiful. So that's the second requirement. Now, in order to add functionality to that particular website, you need to learn JavaScript, correct, so that you can uh, uh, add click events in that particular website, and you can add login and logout and all those features in that particular website. So the basic requirements are these three. Even if you take example of any other HTML framework, you might be using React, you might be using Angular. Even Angular has these three requirements. You need to write CSS, you need to write Angular templates and everything. And in case of in case of React as well, there's the same requirement. Instead of HTML, React uses JSX, but CSS and JavaScript are still required. So there are three different things which are required when it comes to these platforms. But in case of Flutter, Dart is the only programming language which you need to learn, and you can write structuring as well, you can write designing as well, and you can write functionality as well with the help of Dart itself. So that is one major point of Dart, which makes it very uh, convenient to use. So there is one thing. And obviously like, since every other company is sort of trying to do this on their own, so uh, Facebook has created React already, and which is already booming in the market. So React is used for creating websites as well, and then there is React Native, which is used to create mobile applications. You guys might have used, correct? So basically Flutter is an answer to React. That is what you can say. And not just the answer to React, because React is simply used for creating mobile applications, but Flutter is instead used for creating desktop, mobile, and web and everything. So it beats React by a huge margin. So that is the thing. Like, even being a designer, you can easily use it. Even being a developer, you can easily use Flutter, and it's very easy to switch from being a developer who is a web developer who uses all this JavaScript, HTML, CSS, to Dart, because all the basic programming concepts are similar. Now, why you should start using Dart? So I guess until now, all of you might have got idea that why we should use Dart, and why basically we should use Flutter, correct? Now, as I said, uh, before learning any programming language, you tend to sort of see that, okay, what are the benefits of this particular programming language? So I would like to quickly shift from Flutter to Dart for a while, and explain you what exactly Dart is. So Dart is not a relatively new language. You might have heard it for the first time, but just to tell you that when Angular was launched in year, I guess it was 2012, Angular JS was launched in 2012. So can someone tell me quickly in the answer section that Angular is written in which particular programming language? Angular JS, the complete framework, is written in which particular programming language? If you can answer in the YouTube comment section. So, but I can just I'll take this forward from my head. So until then, you guys can answer it in the comment section. So the very first version of Angular, which was launched in 2012, it was written in Dart itself. So Dart exists from year 2012. Later, they switched on to some other programming language in the later versions of Angular, which is Angular 2, 3, 4, and 6. And I guess now it's somewhere around 9, 10. I'm not sure. Haven't worked with Angular a lot. So the later versions were on different language, but the initial version of Angular, which was launched, it was in Dart. So Dart is a relatively old language. It exists from so much time. Correct. Yeah. So Vikas has answered it correctly. That Vikas and Pavan, everyone, that it's written in TypeScript. So the first version of Angular was in Dart, but at that moment it didn't quite work well for Angular. So from the later versions, they shifted to TypeScript. Till now, it is on TypeScript. But what they did is that they worked on Dart very well, and then started Flutter framework now, which is now working with the Dart. So just a heads up that within a year or two, like it's 2021 already. So somewhere around 2022, Angular would be sort of discontinued by Google, and everything would be shifted to Flutter. Because what's the use case of Angular? Angular is used to create websites, right? And mobile applications, which is not exactly mobile applications, progressive web apps, which gives us a feel of mobile application. So all those functionalities are available with Flutter already. So what's the need to create or use two different frameworks under same company? So Angular would be discontinued, and Flutter would be the next big thing which would be there. So that would be happening within next year. So yeah, Dart existed from very beginning. And second best thing, like nowadays, each and every developer is really very good at object oriented programming language. Correct. That's the very first thing which you guys learn, which you guys sort of have an understanding of when you start learning any programming language, or any, even not even if a programming language, basics of programming. If you want to learn, you need to know object oriented. So Dart is also object oriented programming language. It's very similar to all this C++, JavaScript, and Java. It's very simple, and almost the statements and the functions are also very same. So if you have already worked on any of this, it would be very easy for you to just quickly shift to this particular programming language. Another thing, it is statically typed. You might be very familiar with this terminology, that there are programming languages which are loosely typed. There are programming languages which are like strict in terms of their variable declaration and everything. So Dart is a statically typed. So if you are sort of declaring a variable, you need to mention that, okay, this is the type of variable. If I'm declaring a string, if I'm declaring a boolean, if I'm declaring an integer, you need to just make sure that, okay, you mention that, okay, this is a type, this is a variable which is of type integer. And the final thing, it can run on multiple environments. So basically, be it a mobile environment, be it a Mac OS, be it a Linux environment, or be it a Windows environment, you can work on any of this machine, and from that particular machine you can develop apps for all the different machines. So for example, if I'm using a Mac OS as of now, so I can use this particular system to create all the applications. There's no limitation to sort of that. Okay, for example, if someone might have created an iOS application, there's a very limitation when it comes to using Swift and everything, that Xcode works on this particular machine, and that all those stuff. But that's not the case with Flutter or Dart. It's very environment friendly. It can run on multiple environments. So these are the things which are there of the Dart. Now, be it any programming language which you are learning for the first time, or if you are like if you are learning any new programming language, so what I would suggest is that don't just give complete time to that particular programming language itself. Learn it in chunks, in small pieces. For example, just go through the basic documentations and start working on any smaller project, or if not a project, any simple application, be it just for example a calculator. If you're learning a Dart, if you're learning Dart, just make sure that okay, while learning Dart, I'll create a calculator application with Dart. So just go through the documentation for a while, quickly shift to creating a UI of that particular Dart. Then again, go through the documentation, start learning, and then quickly shift to a project. So with the help of this concept, that quickly making projects while you are learning, it would definitely bring down the total learning time, as well as the concepts which you have learned will stay for a much longer period of time with you, and you'll have a very good understanding. So just make sure that whenever you are learning any programming language or anything, make sure that you're making a small project along with it. It really helps a lot. Correct. Okay, so now let's come back to the Flutter. So as I said that with the help of Flutter and with the help of Dart, you can quickly create UI. You can also beautify or add CSS. That's what we do in terms of HTML. So you can create quickly create much beautiful UI, as well as you can add functionality to it as well. Correct. So now let's take an example of this particular UI which you are seeing on your screen at the right side. So this is a simple UI of one particular page. So if a designer has to deliver this particular UI to a developer, correct? So there would be different perspectives when we talk to a designer, that how he sees this particular design, and when you talk to a UI developer or a HTML developer, there would be a different perspective. Correct. So there are two different perspectives and of a designer and a developer. So now let's talk about the perspective of a developer. Correct. So how a developer would be seeing it, even if you guys might have guessed that how we see it as a developer, we try to divide this particular design into rows and columns. That's what we try to do. Correct. That okay, the very first section could be a somewhere in a complete image with a complete div with a background image. The second section would be divided into two columns, and then there can be three rows, and the section where there are three icons with options of call, route, and shares. Maybe I can create it in a row with a three columns and all this stuff. This is the general perspective of a developer. Now if you create it with HTML, it's pretty much simple, which you might have guessed that there are rows and columns, and then there are paragraphs, and then there is background image. Now exactly same concept is used in Flutter as well. Flutter provides you widgets for every design element, just like we call elements in HTML. Correct. We call everything element, right? There is a div element, there's a paragraph element, there's a h1 element, right? We call everything an element in terms of HTML. Similarly, in terms of Flutter, every design element is called as a widget. So every design element is called as a widget, and from now on I'll also call it widget. So there is a widget available for every functionality in Flutter. There's a pre-existing or a pre-built widget available for every functionality in Flutter. For example, if you want to create a button with icon, there's an icon button widget available. If you want to create a paragraph, there's a paragraph widget available. If you want to write text, there's a widget available whose name is text. So every design element has a widget available by its own name. why this is important and why this is very nice, it gives readability to the code. It's very easy to understand that okay, this is a text widget, इसके अंदर text होगा, this is a paragraph widget, this is a button widget, it might have a button, this is a button icon widget, it will be having an icon with a button, this is a star widget, okay, it means that it's a clickable star. There's a if you want to add click event to any functionality, there's a gesture detector event, there's a gesture detector widget. So every functionality has a widget available. Even margin and padding are also available as widgets. So it's very uh, easy to understand the code, and it's very easy to write the code as well. It's very easy to write the code as well. I'll show you the example of writing the code as well. So there's a widget available for every design element, correct? So if we try to break down one particular section of the design, which I showed previously. So let's break down this particular row and try to match it with the widgets available in the Flutter. So the very first red border which you are seeing is a row. So there's a row widget available in Flutter as well. Then what we'll do is we'll divide that particular row into 3 different columns. So there are column widgets available in Flutter. Then inside every column, what we have is a button which has one icon and one text. So again, there's a button widget available, there's a icon widget available in Flutter, and there's a text widget available in Flutter. So just see how easy it would be to go through the code, because what you are seeing in design, exactly the same thing you will be seeing on the code as well. So it would be very easy for you to understand. And similarly, we can take another example of the title section and everything. So there's a widget available for again everything, a title widget available, a star widget, a text widget, everything is available. Great. Now let's exactly see the code example of a Flutter widget. So what I have done is I have created a comparison of how you will be coding a simple box in HTML and a simple box in Flutter as well. Correct. So let's go through the HTML one first. It's very easy. I've created a div which has a class of gray box, and then there's a text inside it. What I have done next is I've given some CSS to that particular class, which is .graybox. I've used that particular CSS selector. Then inside that, we have given a background color, width, height, and then font family together. So 900 would be the font weight, and then font size, and then font family together. So you can just imagine how a rectangle would be of width 320 pixel, height 240 pixel, and the color of the rectangle would be gray. This is what we'll be getting, and inside that particular rectangle there would be a text which is lorem ipsum. So the same thing if we have to create with the help of Flutter, correct? So again, as I said, Flutter is object oriented programming language, and every design element has a widget available, correct? So the very first thing which we need to create is a box. So for creating a box or a random box, there's a container widget available in Flutter. So we'll start with container. So inside that container, now what the next requirement is that that container should have a text of lorem ipsum. So what we'll be doing is we'll be giving it a child, and that child would be text widget. As I said, for writing a text, you need to write text widget. So text widget would be taking a string, and inside that string we can write lorem ipsum. So this completes our basic functionality of the box. Now if we want to talk about CSS, so as I said that in Flutter you can write CSS inside the Dart element itself. So what you need to do is inside the text itself you can give text style, and for giving width and height to the container, you can just mention width as 320 and height as 240 inside the container itself. So you don't have to create another file and just start writing all the CSS everything over there. Just like you are writing text and everything in the same file you can write width and height and everything as well. So this was the basic comparison of the Flutter code. So there are there are so many widgets available. Similarly, if you want to visit, just you can go on the widgets catalog of Flutter, which is available on flutter.dev. You'll just see so many widgets available over there. Every design element is just available there. So if you want to create any mobile application as well, it's just very easy to just pick and choose from all those widgets and just arrange it in your mobile application, and you're ready to go. So that's very great. Now, that was about the widgets. There are so many lots of widgets available. You can just quickly go through and go through the website and have a look at this. Now, let's talk about the toolings of Flutter. Basically, if you'll work with Flutter, how it exit, how to start working with the Flutter. Basically, setting up a project. What are the commands available? What are the tools available? How do you run a project and all those stuff? Let's discuss about that particular thing as well. Okay, so these are the few basic commands which are available in Flutter. So even before mentioning these two commands, let me explain how you can set up Flutter in your machine. So there's literally no prerequisite for setting up Flutter or sort of installing Flutter. You can just visit flutter.dev. There's a zip package available for Flutter. You can just download it and click on install, and that's too easy. That's done. Flutter is installed in your machine. Now, after doing that particular step, if you want to check that, okay, is Flutter installed in my machine, then in terminal window, you can write Flutter Doctor. So what Flutter Doctor will do is it will check your system for all the requirements that, okay, these are the things which are available in the system, and is the Flutter which is installed is compatible with the machine or not, and it will give you the results. So this is the use of Flutter Doctor command. And if you want to upgrade the version of Flutter next time, you don't need to download it again. You can just run the Flutter upgrade command, and it will directly upgrade your latest. It will directly upgrade you to the latest version of Flutter. Since I told you in starting that Flutter is largely dependent on the open source contribution, there are lots and lots of open source contributions which are happening. Obviously, the team at Google is also working on it, but there are major contributions which are coming from the open source contributions as well. So just to make sure that everyone has access to all the things, Flutter is divided into 4 different channels. So one channel is available. You might have learned about Git. So many of you might have used Git as well. There are different branches in Git, correct? And on different branches, you can use different codes on different branches. You can put different versions of your code on different branches. So similarly, Flutter is available in different versions. So one version is available, which is like the stable version, which is like used by the production team, or if you are creating a production applications which would go live and there would be lots of users, so you can use the best version of Flutter from there. Then there's another version which is dev, which is like up to the mark, but there might be some glitches, but it has a lot of latest features which developers are working on. Then there is a beta version on which lots of things are going in testing and everything. So these are like 3-4 versions in which Flutter is available. So if you want to switch in between any versions, you can quickly switch and work your application with all those versions. But what I would suggest is to just stay with the stable version of the Flutter, because it has less number of errors and it works smoothly. So you can work on stable version as well. Now, another thing which is important, or which is required for setting up a Flutter project, is a configuration file. So configuration file is like common nowadays. Even if you are using an Angular project, or even if you are creating a Android application, be it any project, even if it's a Node.js project or anything, there is a configuration file which is initially required for setting up a project, where you mention few details about your project, like name and what all dependencies are there. If you are using any third-party library, where that particular library exists, if it's on some other's GitHub repository. At the time of loading your project, you might want to download it. So all these details are mentioned in a authentication file, configuration file, sorry, in a configuration file. So similarly, Flutter also has a configuration file by the name of pubspec.yml. All those details which I mentioned are written in this particular file. As you might see that I have shown one example, which is like firebase.auth is also included in this particular file as a dependency. Just quickly, I'll explain you how this thing works. Firebase auth is the name of the dependency, and the version of the dependency is mentioned in front of it. So it's 0.2.5, correct? And the icon which you can see it at the front is just to give this particular file and permission that if another version of this Firebase authentication is available, a much newer version, for example 2.6 is available, or 2.7 is available, so it gives this file automatic a permission that whenever it's available, just directly upgrade to that particular version. If you don't want to upgrade to that particular version, you can just remove this icon. So throughout the journey of your project, just 0.2.5 version of the Firebase auth will be used, correct? You can also define a range of any library, that from 0.2.6 to 0.1.2. In between these versions only the plugin would work, not after this particular version. So these are the few important things, or few basic things which you might use in other configuration environments as well. So this is how it is used. Now once you're done writing all this configuration environments, if you just need to run a Flutter command, which is flutter packages.get, it would download all the requirements which you have mentioned in the pubspec.yml. So this is how it is. And another command, which is packages.upgrade, it is used to upgrade the existing packages which are there in your pubspec.yml. So that is how it is. There's another Flutter command, which is flutter format. It easily, what it does is it beautifies your code and removes unwanted code which is there in your project, be it assets or be it anything, correct? And there's another command, which is flutter.analyze. What it does is it analyzes your code and make sure that if there's any plugin which is not used in your library, still it is just unwanted and increasing size of your application, it would let you know, and maybe you can remove that particular plugin. So that is one thing which is available. Now another very important aspect or important feature why Flutter is very important for developers is that it provides you the functionality of hot reload. There might be a lot of Android developers who are sort of attending this session, so you might have seen that even if you do a small change, even if you do some small change in your project, the time which build takes, correct? In some machines it's like you just need to wait forever for waiting for build to complete. Same goes with the iOS developer as well. Xcode takes hell lot of time in just creating a build. So every time you do some change, you need to wait for the build to be completed. What Flutter provides you is the functionality of hot reload. Hot reload is very common nowadays when we talk about web development, because React and Angular and every other HTML framework provides you this, but it was not available for Android mobile application developers, but Flutter has come up with that particular thing. So if I'll quickly show you the example. So as of now, if I'm doing any change in the button clicked file and quickly do a hot reload, it will directly reflect to the emulator. If I do some change in the counter function, instead of plus plus, I write minus minus and click on save, it would directly affect on the emulator, and instead of addition, it would make it subtraction. So this is the functionality of hot reload, which is like being provided by Flutter to us, and which is very, very helpful. Now, uh, let's come back to the a few example of widgets which are there in Flutter, which are available in Flutter. So some useful information about widgets. So Flutter provides you widgets of two types, correct? As I said that in case of HTML, what happens is that for everything you have different functionality. For example, for adding for beautifying your page, you need to write CSS. For adding functionality, you need to write JavaScript and everything. But in case of Flutter, widget is the only thing which is available, and widget does everything. It handles functionality, it provides the UI part of it as well as it provides the beautification part of it. So when we talk about the functionalities of widget, widgets are of two types in Flutter. One is stateless widget and the other is stateful widget. I'll quickly read about what stateless widget is and then try to explain it. So a stateless widget is used for immutable elements that rely on the object configuration. Stateless widgets are those widgets which are immutable and they rely on the object configurations. So if you are seeing in the examples of stateless widget, I have written two examples, which is like image, text, and all this stuff. Correct. Now let's talk about stateful, and then I'll explain you the difference between those two widgets. So a stateful widget is used for element that can be dynamically changed based on the state in the system. Correct. So based on these two definitions, you might have understood that a stateless widget is something which gets a state at the time when it's being built or when it is being rendered by the system, and it stays as it is for the whole life cycle. But stateful widget is something which can change dynamically, and the reason can be anything: user interaction, maybe new data is available from the API or anything like that. It can change its state. So these are the two types of widgets which are available in Flutter. So whenever you are creating a design, you need to make sure that this element would be a stateless widget or a stateful widget. For example, if there's a heading to any content, or any section has a heading, for example profile section, so it won't be changing, the heading won't be changing. The data inside the section might change based on different users, but the heading would remain same. So heading can be a stateless widget, and the section which is containing the data can be a stateful widget. So that's how you can differentiate it between stateless and stateful widget inside Flutter. Correct. Now, these are the few basic examples which I have created with the help of Flutter, and just to like give you an hint that it's really easy. Even if you don't have a design in your hand, even if you just have a wireframe, with the help of Flutter widgets, you can just pick and choose from the catalog section, and you can directly implement it in your application. And there are lots of things which are rendered pre built in Flutter. For example, carousels with lovely animations, routing animations, page transition effects. There, all these things are already built in Flutter, so you don't have to quickly go through everything. And just like in HTML and CSS and JavaScript, you had to write a code for a simple animation as well, or you had to use some other library like jQuery or anything. So in Flutter, everything is there. If you are creating a widget, it will make sure that okay, the options are available for transitions and animations and everything. So these were the few examples. One last thing which about Flutter I would like to mention is that being a cross-platform mobile application and other mobile application framework, uh, there is a requirement at times when you need to work with a functionality which is platform specific. Correct. Just like in terms of website development, you had to write a code which supports Firefox browser, and then you had to write some other code for the same functionality which supports Safari, and then some other code which supports Chrome OS, your Google Chrome. Correct. For same functionality, you had to write 2 to 3 different codes uh, just to suffice the requirements of that particular platform. So since Flutter is still relatively new, there are a few functionalities which Flutter is not able to provide, and for those functionalities what you need to do is you need to write native code. Native code as in, for iOS you need to write iOS specific code, for Android you need to write Android specific code, and if you're supporting some other platform you need to write that particular specific code. They can be many things. For example, there is picture in picture mode available in Android, correct? You can just quickly uh, start watching your video in picture in PIP mode, and then you can surf through your phone. But iOS, until their 14th version was launched, there was no PIP mode available in iOS. So you had to write specific code for iOS to just make sure that it's started supporting PIP mode. In case of Android, it was already available. So some few specific functionalities which are platform specific, you had to write some particular code in Flutter itself so that it supports everything. So for writing platform specific code, Flutter is already providing you a very important, a very useful concept, which is known as the method channel. So what method channel does is, in your Flutter code there would be one function itself, which is, for example, let's say we are writing a platform specific code to get how much the phone is charged, the battery level of the phone, correct? So in Flutter you will be writing just one function, which is to get the battery level of the phone. Now with the help of method channels, what Flutter would do is, Flutter will run iOS specific code in the iOS method channel and Android specific code in Android method channel, and it will bring you battery levels from both the cases and give it to you in your Flutter application. So this is how method channel works in Flutter. Even if there's a Linux application which you are developing or a Mac OS application which you are developing, so a method channel will go to that particular native code environment, bring that particular battery level from that particular machine and give it to you back with the help of method channel. So this is how method channel works in Flutter. So yeah, that's all about the Flutter and its basic introduction. These are the few blogs. I'll also share the URL to the presentation so that you can go to the presentation and visit these URLs. These are the URLs from which you can get basic learning of the, or the basic understanding of the Flutter. Now, okay, so we are almost done with the session. I intentionally left the last 10 minutes for the Q&A session. So if you guys have any questions, I can see there are a few questions. I'll take those questions as well. Also, if you have some other questions, you can just quickly mention it in the comment section. I'll start speaking about, or I'll start talking about the questions. Even if after this session you might need any help regarding setting up Flutter, or if you're facing any problem with the Flutter development or anything, you can just quickly connect with me on this social media handles. I'm readily available for all those questions which would be coming from your side. So yeah, let's start taking questions now for the Flutter. So how should we do it? Like one of the admin would be asking the questions, or I should just go through the YouTube comment section and start answering?
Sir, I will be reading out the questions which will be coming on the screen.
Okay, sure. That would be great.
Okay.
So let's use that
So
particular
the
thing.
question
Maybe
is
you
from
can.
Aman Raj.
Okay.
Question is from Aman Raj that when to use keys in Flutter.
Okay, so basically key in a Flutter is used to provide a unique identity to any widget. For example, you are using a slider, correct, which has same cards, same type of cards in slider, but you need a functionality where, for example, if you want to lend user on 10th card of the scrollable widget, when user comes to that particular page, or there's a requirement that you need to land user on the 15th card of that particular scrollable widget. So if you have access to key of that particular widget, so for example, inside of key you can pass index to all the cards. So the first card would be having the value of key as index 0, the second card would be having index 1, and so far and so forth. So key would be easily available to access even if you are coming from some other route, and you can quickly apply any functionality, be it animation, be it sliding functionality or anything like that. So key is something which you can note down 2 points. Key is something which provides unique identity to any widget, and key is accessible from other routes as well, so that you, if you want to uh, provide some functionality, so you can provide that particular functionality to that particular widget with the help of key.
Thank you, sir, for the answer. I hope Aman has got your query answered. So the next question is from Mayank. Why does
Also
first
one thing,
Flutter app? Yeah.
one point which I left was, Aman, that keys are also used for testing purpose as well, correct? So since, as I said, that Flutter, I forgot to cover the testing part of it. As I said, that Flutter is something which provides you each and everything in just one single code base. So there is testing functionality also available in Flutter, UI testing, automation testing, correct? So with the help of key uh, of each and every widget, you can apply Flutter automation techniques as well. So you need to learn about it, but yeah, once when you'll go through it, keys would be important in automation testing as well. Yeah, next question.
Okay, so Mayank is asking, why does the first Flutter app build take so long?
Okay, so the very first Flutter app build takes so long because uh, it just not installs the APK inside your mobile phone. It also installs a debugger with the mobile application. For example, if your initial app is like 10 MB, but the Flutter would be installing somewhere around 60 MB inside your phone, because the debugger's size is somewhere around 50-60 MB. So that's the reason the initial building time takes so long, because it comes with a debugger, so that you can
Thank you.
check
Yeah.
all the functionalities.
Thank you for the answer. So the next question is from Neha. Like she has some experience in Android development and with Java. Now she wants to make transition to Flutter or Kotlin for application development. So which choice is better?
So definitely, I would suggest that Flutter would be a better choice, because taking my example, I was a web developer before I shifted to Flutter. So a web developer knows about what HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Angular, and React, and all this stuff. Correct. So for me as well, shifting to Flutter was much easier, because I tried shifting to Android a lot of times, but it was a very huge gap between JavaScript and Java. They sound same, but there's a huge difference, correct? So shifting from JavaScript and all these web frameworks to Java was very different, very difficult for me. But when I tried shifting from HTML to Dart, it was relatively very easy. Like, I won't even call it 1% difficult. It was very, very easy for me to shift from React and all these object-oriented programming languages to Dart. So I would also suggest Neha to try out Dart, because as of now, even if you will learn Kotlin, you will still be an Android developer. But if you will shift to Dart, you will become a mobile developer who can make cross-platform applications. So that's worth a try.
Thank you, sir, for the answer. So Pratyush has asked why we use a ticker in Flutter.
So it's just a widget which is available. For example, if you in JavaScript you have set timeout and all those functionalities available, correct? So similarly, you can use ticker in Flutter as well.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Neeraj. Which one is better, Flutter or React Native?
Okay, so this question can itself be a 1 hour long session, but it basically depends on the requirement to requirement basis. If you have a team of just 1 or 2 mobile developers, you should definitely try to go with Flutter, because it provides you a much bigger opportunity. Correct. Basically, for me, Flutter is a business solution, because uh, for example, if there's a startup with less number of team members, and if just one developer can create mobile application, Android, iOS, and web platform as well, what else do you need? Correct. It is saving your time as well as it's saving your cost. So it's becoming both the stuff. So definitely, if you look at it from that perspective, Flutter is very uh, good for using. But even before choosing both these technologies, you need to just make sure that, okay, this is the requirement of my project, the product which I am making. Will this Flutter or React Native suffice all the requirements? Are the plugins available? Are the technologies available? Does it supports or not? So that is something which you need to see, that okay, all the things which are required for the projects are available in this particular technology. So that is what you should see. But yeah, both of them are good.
Thank you, sir, for the answer. So the next question is from 𝙃𝙤𝙬𝙙𝗧𝗧𝗘𝗥. He is asking
Hmm.
about, to get the best performance, I have tried to do the performance profiling. So what are
Hmm.
the traits we should observe for in the profiler and give priority for optimization?
Okay, so one thing which so the very first thing which you need to have a look at it is the storage part of it. That there's a proper disposing of all the storage is happening or not. For example, there's a controller initialized at every page route. For example, you have a video, you have an animation, and you have a transition effect on one particular page. So Flutter creates some sort of controllers for all these functionalities. Correct. So when you shift from, or when you transition from that page to some another page, you need to make sure that all those functionalities are disposed, all those controllers are disposed. The video controller is disposed, the animation controller is disposed, everything is disposed properly, so that there is no data storage problem. So similarly, in profiling, you need to make sure that, okay, whatever network requests I made, whatever controllers I made at one particular page are being properly disposed, and I'm getting the new page in much proper stuff. So that is one thing which you need to use: network request and storage request, and every controller is being disposed properly or not.
Okay, thank
Also,
you, sir.
also there is one
Yeah.
also there is one profiling tool, app analyzer, APK analyzer, which is available with the Flutter. So there you just need to sort of create an APK and upload it to the analyzer. It would give you a report based on every widget, that this particular widget or this particular uh, element is using this percent of your uh, size. For example, if I'm using a third party tool for creating animation, so it would tell me that, okay, 3% of your app's size is being used by this particular uh, widget or this particular library. So you can use app analyzer as well to reduce the size of the application.
Okay, so the next question is from Pawan. What's the difference between main method and run app?
It's just used inside the run app methods. For example, the main method is basically the best, or the how it is used in every other programming languages, that whenever you land on any initial page of any programming language, main method is the one which tells you that, okay, uh, where you should go now next. Correct. So similar
Yes.
concept in the uh, Flutter as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the one question is from Sagupta, that what is twin animation?
So you might have used jQuery animations. You guys have used jQuery animations, where we use toggle animations a lot. That on click event, toggle show, or in another click event, we use toggle hide. Correct. So
Yes.
and a lot of similar animations where we expect something to happen and then accept it to happen in return as well. For example, if we increase size of a card on click event, we expect it to reduce to its own size after another click, something like that. So similarly, we can define twin animations in Flutter as well, which is again same stuff. There is a method available through which you can define the animation of any particular widget on the z x y and z x y and z any axis, and then it would automatically happen at for some amount of time which you will be mentioning in that particular function, and it would be happening on the click event or whatever event you define. So it's similarly as the transition animations which we used to define in CSS.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the last question is from Amrit. Don't you think the Flutter has less number of third-party libraries?
So yes, Amrit, I still think that there are less number of third-party libraries available, but they are quickly growing. So when I started working with Flutter back in 2000, somewhere around 2018, I used to feel that okay, this was the major reason that why I used to think that starting to use Flutter is a bad choice, but it has grown immensely. And if I look at it now, you won't be facing any problem in implementing any of the functionality. Back then, yes, you might have faced care for this particular functionality. There is no library available. For example, there was no library available for payment gateway back then. There was no good library available for a nice video player. For example, in JavaScript, there's video.js which is available. It's very, very nice, and it supports a lot of things. Back then, there was no such library available in Flutter. So it was there, but now talking about present scenario, you won't get stuck in any of the functionalities. There is a library available, at least one library available for all the functionalities. So yes, and it's quickly growing. It's growing very, very fast, very, very rapidly. So uh, it shouldn't be the reason why you are not starting to work on Flutter. Definitely, there are lots of things available. So yeah, that is there. Okay, I guess we're done with the questions.
Yes, sir. I think Paritosh, there is some problem with him. Okay.
No, I just got a call, so my connectivity
Okay.
got disconnected. So I think that was the last question for the session. So thank you very much, sir, for joining us today and giving us a very informative talk. The presentation was really amazing, and it was great having you at HackNITP. And thank you, the audience, for joining us today as well. I hope you must have gained a lot from this session. And we will back with another session at the workshop series at HackNITP 3.0. So stay tuned and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more such events. And so this is me, Paritosh, signing off from NIT Patna. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for joining.
Thanks a lot.